One long-forgotten Sith lightsaber type would have been the perfect weapon for Obi-Wan Kenobi, but there's a good reason he'd never use it. Most Jedi choose a lightsaber form that compensates for their weakness. Mace Windu's Varped is designed to channel his inner rage and anger, while Yoda chose the agile Ataru to compensate for his small stature. Obi-Wan Kenobi is an exception, however. He chose Form 3, Sorisu, simply because its defensive nature appealed to his character. Matt Stover's novelization of Star Wars, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith was written in close consultation with George Lucas, and it features quite a few scenes and notes that didn't make the final cut. In one, the Jedi tell Obi-Wan that they consider him the true master of Sorisu. He has perfected Sorisu to an art form, and this was the reason the Jedi were confident he was the right one to take on General Grievous. And yet, for all the Jedi praise Obi-Wan for his skill, there is one way he could have been even better, with a somewhat unique lightsaber. Darth Zana was a Sith Lord who lived nearly 1,000 years before the Skywalker saga. The apprentice of Darth Bane, she was the first Sith to operate under the rule of two that her master had established, and she proved her power and skill when she defeated Bane in combat, likely one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time. Zana has been mentioned in canon, but her story was fleshed out much more in the old Star Wars expanded universe. Zana was a Force powerhouse in her own right, but she stands out among the Sith for choosing the lightsaber form Sorisu, a defensive form that is very unusual for a Sith. Zana redesigned her lightsaber to maximize the efficiency of Sorisu, and she chose a double-bladed lightsaber, similar to the one used by Darth Maul in Star Wars, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Zana's blades were a little shorter than standard, at 0.75 meters in length rather than a full meter. Her lightsaber became known as Bane's Heart, after one legendary crystal that powered it. Zana's unique lightsaber really was perfectly suited to defensive Sorisu, which focuses on swatting back attacks. She didn't need the longer blade lengths typically associated with aggressive practitioners. The two shorter blades were perfect for maximizing her own area of protection. Using Bane's Heart, she was even able to defeat Bane himself. It's easy to see why this fantastic double-bladed lightsaber was the perfect tool for a Force user who had mastered Sorisu. Double-bladed lightsabers had largely fallen out of fashion by the time of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. This is why Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn were so surprised to see one in The Phantom Menace, and it is why they struggled to adapt their own forms to match an unfamiliar weapon. There were a handful of Jedi who used variations of these iconic weapons, but they were few and far between. In any case, the simple truth is that Obi-Wan probably wouldn't have chosen to modify his lightsaber even if he'd realized it would benefit his form. Obi-Wan never saw himself as the master of Sorisu. He was naturally too humble to ever entertain such an idea, and was taken aback when he learned how highly he was thought of. Other Jedi deliberately chose lightsaber types to accentuate their forms, but Obi-Wan would consider any weaknesses to his form to be his own, explaining why he became such a master of Sorisu as he sought to overcome his limitations. The very idea of Obi-Wan Kenobi using a double-bladed lightsaber is even more amusing. This was the very weapon that had cut down his beloved master, Qui-Gon Jinn, and he's never have considered imitating Darth Maul by copying it. Instead, Obi-Wan focused on learning to defend himself and others from double-bladed lightsabers, and he proved his success in his final duel with Maul, when he simply ignored the blades and used his lightsaber to cut down the middle of Maul's hilt, slicing the weapon apart and killing its master with a single stroke.